Good morning to SFG Top Performance. Today we're going to look back at what has happened over the year of 2020. And the regulars are with us today, Charles, Jason, and Derrick. I'm going to talk about a little bit the ratio and how that affected us and the directions that we've gone to from that. Back on August 10th, I think it was, we got hit by that even in our area, but Central Iowa really got smacked. It hurt them a lot, but it affected us. We looked at how it affected our sales. We have some business up in that area, and it changed how we had to address what they were using and how we could use products in that area. It made us relook at what Smith Fertilizer and Grain can do for customers and how we can do it. We've worked through it, and I know that the farmers in that area have too. We may not have had the blast of that heavy wind right through here, but we had areas that took crops down, it damaged buildings, and the resilience of the farmers in our area is very good. They were able to pick it back up and move forward. Really a rough time in 2020 for all of us, but it's all something we're able to work through.
Yes, and the COVID also changed the way we work and do our business in 2020. Before that, we felt we needed to be out with customers, which we really enjoy doing. But after, COVID, everybody was a little skeptical all through the year. We learned to use telephones, use emails, use texts. And through this, we learned that we could get to large groups of farmers and teach you all at the same time. And so we didn't have to do the same conversation over and over again. We could do one training session and teach several of you the same thing. So, and we learned a lot with the things that we had to do, we're forced to do through COVID, that will help us improve how we get information to customers and improve our sales techniques, I believe. And Derrick, I know you had to do the same thing with your sales. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, so like Jason said, we had to switch over kind of how we give information out to customers, how we talk to them, and really we did that by relying more on technology. We spent more time on the phone, spent more time with emails. We've probably done more email business than we ever have in the past. And I work with a lot of the ag technologies, and we kind of leaned on those too throughout the whole year, not necessarily to do with COVID, but just to be able to give more information and provide a better service. I mean, for a recap of what on the technology side, we brought out the field forecasting tool this year, and we really looked at soybeans for that, and showing that we need to focus a little bit on P&K values of soybeans as well in the dry fertilizer program is one big example of what we can do with the field forecasting tool. We were showing that potash is deficient in a lot of the soybeans this year, and big reason was the dryness, and we just weren't moving as much through the soil profile. But I think we need to look more of that and use these technologies to see these options. Corn with field forecasting tool, we showed that you can really make your nitrogen program more efficient. If you split application, you can reduce by 10, 20 pounds, and you're not nitrogen is not running off into the water, and you're getting it into the corn crop. But that's what we've seen from these technologies this year, and we're going to definitely keep using them for next year.
Dicamba got itself re-registered again. I think that's a good thing for us. It allows us to have another option for us. But with that too, we had concerns last spring when it came time to get ready to apply it, when the 9th District Court out in San Francisco shut us down. Unless you had the product already on your farm, then you could go spray it. Well, we worked through that. Now that they've re-registered it, they went back to the 9th District Court again, and they're in the process of trying to get it canceled again so we can't use it. Now with that, that's made challenges for Smith Fertilizer and Grain again, where we've had to look at different directions on what type of seeds we want to handle. We have chosen the E3s and the Liberty Link, very good beans, very good yielding, very good opportunities for weed control with those as well. But again, something else that has challenged the agronomy within the Midwest here.
Yes, and along with that, at 2020, we had a whirlwind of weather events. We started out, we had a last winter that we couldn't get any work done, and then it dried out, and all the anhydrous had to go on at once, and then all the planning happened, and all the spraying happened, and equipment. I know you had a whirlwind of events going on there for a couple of weeks, getting equipment and making sure all the equipment was ready. And tell us a little bit about equipment and what we've done to prepare ourselves for that again.
So like you said, for the last year here, we thought it was going to be a pretty easy spring, and yeah, we went through, but we had ramped up and got some more anhydrous equipment. We had more tanks, had some more sprayer equipment. We had plenty of spray power. It's always back to that time frame of the window of getting it all done. I mean, there's nothing better than the challenge saying we got this much work to do and you only got this many days to do it. And it seemed like we got through it. We know next year we're going to do more application, as in urea, top dressing urea. That's one thing we're ramping up to do. We think that's going to be a fair amount of our summer acres, I guess, with another machine. That's just going to be another operator that's got to work. The same post sprayers are going to run. We were moving some toolbars around to make them more fit to the farmer. I think it's just going to be the fall, the whole season of the fall here, probably got 60% of the anhydrous on it, I'm guessing. I don't know if that's an accurate number, but have you ever had a fall where we had it never quit, I guess. It didn't quit till it snowed here last week. So, I mean, it was a fall that kept going. So as a whole, I think we had one heck of a year and had real good help, real good staff, good support. I mean, it's back to the whole lining things up. It's just everybody worked well together, and it's just, you couldn't ask for a better season, I don't think, for us.
Yep, and we had some weather events with that too. We had the derecho, as I mentioned earlier, but we started out with adequate moisture in the spring. We started out with normal rains in the spring, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of July, it quit raining. And we didn't really get any rain until that derecho hit again. And that affects beans. Derrick, what did you see with the beans this year because of the lack of moisture we had late season?
Biggest things we saw with the beans this year is, and it was kind of across the board, the earlier beans just didn't perform as well as the later beans. And if I remember right, at the end of August, we had 4 or 5/10 inch of rain, and those longer season 3.5 and up beans seem to capture that a little bit, which is one positive benefit of using these longer season. But there's probably 5 to 10 bushel difference in some areas of these early beans, and now we have a lot of guys prepaying now and thinking, well, we need to be in these later ones. Always put a later bean there, but we've done a really good job of we don't want to get ourselves into a situation where October comes and none of the beans are ready because we've only have late season beans. So we want to make sure we stay spread out, and we have a handful of bean varieties that'll yield with these later ones in a normal year. It's hard to take 2020 as what you're going to decide for the future on, but that's what we've seen in beans, that the early one just didn't quite perform. And seed size is going to be a challenge this year. The soybeans are going to be a lot smaller, the seed beans for next year. So that's going to be something to think about if you have specific planters or that sort of thing that only like a certain size of beans. They were definitely smaller this year from that dryness, Mark.
Yep, and with that dryness, it wasn't throughout the whole trade area, because the rains that we keep track of, the weather that comes through, Pleasantville had over 27 inches of rain this summer from March through September, where Knoxville had 18 and Centerville only had 17. So when you see from Knoxville to Pleasantville, 17, 18-mile differences in a 11, almost 11 inches of rain difference, you'll have one farmer say, well, my beans are okay, I had plenty of moisture on them. And the next one goes, I missed the rains. And well, that's just what it was. We were missing rains and some weren't. Yeah. And so to be choosing the right seed today, take information from this year, but not necessarily set it all up to be as the same for next year's this year. Yeah. How did the rain affect your area, Jason?
Oh, we had 3 to 4 heavy rains that were 3+ inches, 4 inches on some of them. So that made it a challenge with chemical control. as far as it washed a lot of chemicals down the ditches it cut. And also when we went to spray them post, the applicators had to have a terrible time because them gullies were up and down the hill and we could no longer spray in a contour like we would like to. And so we had to, they were very creative and did a very good job of getting the fields covered and getting, you know, the beans sprayed and keeping the weeds under control. I was really impressed with how creative some of them were to get some of them fields done, because it was a tough job for them. So I thank our staff for doing such a good job at that. And, you know, we had every customer had from Pleasantville to Milo that I deal with was different rainfall events, and their yields were extremely different. You know, some might have had 20 bushel difference in beans from county to county just by rainfall, and same everything. So it was a very unique year, and hopefully 2021 will be a more moderate year that we can manage easier.
I have one more thing, Mark. Just want to touch base on some of the important trials that we did this last year and kind of the ones that shined out. One in corn that we saw huge benefits was sulfur. We've talked about sulfur a lot, and being able to get some on the farm. We have a handful of different ways. Corn removes 15 to 20 pounds a year, so it's something we need to look at every year, and it's mobile in the soil like nitrogen. I wanted to kind of throw it to Jason quick. We have a really good way, and he's seen a lot more of it, where we split apply anhydrous with Supergrow to get that sulfur, and then you have a split application of nitrogen. Jason, didn't you have a handful of guys that have done that and it worked really well?
Yes, I have several customers that are using that program where they're putting, you know, a half rate of Supergrow down and coming back with 100 to 150 pounds of anhydrous and seeing tremendous results. With that, they're getting 40 units of sulfur, which is a excellent shot of sulfur to keep, you know, that isn't the limiting factor anymore in the plant growth. So it's helping the yields, because I believe that is something we've been missing, and that's been our limiter, and that stopped our yield. And so now we're getting that to it, and we're going to be able to go on to the next product and find out what is our next limiting product. Is it a micro or what is it? And Derrick, your FFT tool is going to help us with that. And we can do some tissue samples and find out, hey, what's limiting us now? What do we need to work on next year to optimize the yield yet again?
Yeah, and that was the other trial that worked really well. We saw huge benefits from micros with in-season soybeans, spraying them over the top with chemicals. So really, really easy way to throw with the chemicals. And, you know, we are seeing, you know, that 2 to 3 bushels on it, and it's really good returns on those, getting those micros in. But the only way we know is if we test for them. So.
And that's good, because you've shown that the sulfur is working well. Charles has made an effort to get us more equipment to side dress some sulfur with ammonium sulfate. Is that right, Charles?
Yes, we are. We'll have the capabilities of doing that.
Good. So we have that rogator sitting in here. We're going to get it set up and ready to go, so we can do as much side dressing as possible with that this year on the corn. That'll be great for us. It'll help back up, and the farmers that are accepting the information that we're putting out there will help them model out, won't it, Derrick?
Yep, it sure will. We'll be able to pretty much put any amount of nitrogen on that we can. We have the belt for the rogator. I understand we can put as low as, you know, 50 to 60 pounds. So we'll be able to take care of anyone how they want, split apply nitrogen, and really utilize that nitrogen for the best corn crop for next year.
Okay. Well, it has been quite a year for all of us. We've gone through the rains, the winds, the dry, the weather, the diseases, whether it's a plant disease or a disease getting into man, and we survived it. We had a good time most of the time. Once in a while, it was a little bit challenging, but it's always exciting to have customers like you that are willing to continue to come to Smith Fertilizer and Grain. We very much want to thank you for the business that you've given us, and look forward again to serving you in the future. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.